Hey guys, it's Sully. So, I know I don't talk over my speed paints, but I really want to talk about Dishonored. And none of my friends nor my family members have played the game, so I thought this would be a good space for me to just talk about my thoughts and my feelings and my experiences with the game. And I will be talking about spoilers, and I will be talking about the game as if you've already played the game. So if you've never played the game and you don't care about spoilers, you might want to look up like a synopsis on, YouTube, or maybe in like a Reddit or something like that, because we'll be here all day if I have to give like an in-depth synopsis. And this is another reason why the video is so long. I don't know how long I'm going to be rambling, so I'm just going to match the video with the audio. I'm not even watching the speed paint right now. I'm just talking to the mic, so nothing I say is going to like match up with the video. Also, if you have any interest on, a bit more in-depth thought process on the picture, I will be talking about the picture in the first half of this video. So if you are interested in that, just keep on listening. But if you're not interested in anything, or you don't want to be spoiled, you're definitely going to want to mute me. And you might even want to mute if you're planning on playing the game, even when I'm talking about the picture. Because I'm going to talk a little bit about Emily, and if you want no spoilers, then avoid it at all costs. Just put it on mute or come back later. So let me get into talking about the picture. So originally this picture took me I believe 10 hours, if not more. And it's mainly because there's just a lot going on, a lot of people. There's 8 people in this picture. And I normally am at the most drawn 2. And I'm not even drawing legs most of the time. So I'm drawing full body, 8 people. There's a big room, there's a little bit of perspective going on. There's just a lot going on. Also, I'm really bad about my layer management. So you'll notice that so for any new idea that I have, I make a new layer. And because what if I don't like the idea? I don't want to ruin the picture. And what normally happens is a lot of my foreground and my background kind of get mixed together, and to separate it, because normally I draw the foreground first and then I'll draw the background. So what normally happens is I've got to separate the foreground from the background. So when I start drawing the background, I don't mess up the foreground because I did all that work. So what normally happens is I flatten the image and then I'll delete the background. You probably see this in almost every speed paint that I do. It might be hard to see because they're so fast, but I do it in almost every speed paint. So, but I had to do this a couple of times with this picture because they're kind of 2 backgrounds. Because the foreground is clearly the throne, and then there's the dead bodies behind them, and then there is the window, and then the room. And that window, man. So that window took me a really long time, and let this be a lesson, because the window, I was kind of just making this kind of a messy picture. I was being lazy, and I was I'm not going to do a really in-depth picture. I'm just going to play around with it. I don't care. And then as I got more into the picture, I was well, I should probably make it look nice. And what I'm talking about that is when I was doing the window, I was just using my own hand, and I'm be it's straight enough, while in all honesty, it's not straight at all. I have no steadiness with my hand. I think my Psi tool has a stabilizer, and I think I'm on level 10. What does that say about me as an artist? But so I wasn't using my marquee tool. I was just it looks good enough, and that would bite me in the ass later because I would eventually use my marquee tool, and it just took forever, and things were already blurred, and it was just a nightmare. There was a lot of mixing, and I really didn't want to disrupt the kind of beauty of some of the stuff that did get mixed in together, but I kind of had to. And so I was just doing a lot of stupid mistakes and just making it really hard on myself. So a little bit about the picture. When I was first drawing it, it was just gonna be, Corvo and and what's her name? Emily. So originally, I just finished the game, and I was like, I want to draw Corvo and Emily, and I want to draw them as like super cute, like bodyguard and little girl. It's going to be adorable, bonding time. And so I think you'll see it later in the speed paint, because I use it as reference to draw Corvo later. But I have Corvo in like a garden. It's supposed to be a garden, and it's supposed to be like him and Emily, playing in the garden, super cute. And I didn't finish it for whatever reason. It's probably the color scheme. The color scheme is really green gray. I don't know what I was thinking about that, but I wasn't inspired. So I changed it because I was just like, I'm just going to practice drawing Corvo and Emily. And I really wanted to have like a fun time, like designing Emily's outfits, because Dishonored has fantastic outfits, more so with Dishonored 2. But I love the fact that the Empress is like wearing pants, and like Emily wears pants, like, and it's because like I love women in menswear, so I was like, that is some good shit right there. So I just wanted to draw like fancy clothes. So when I was originally drawing it, it was supposed to be a happy picture. It was going to be Emily sitting in her throne, having a good time, smiling. And as I was drawing her all happy, she looked real dopey. Real, like, it wasn't like a cute smile, it was a dopey smile. And that's not what I was going for. And no matter what I did, her like eyes were cross-eyed, or like they weren't focused. It was a hot mess of what it was. So normally what happens, when like I kind of get frustrated that nothing I'm doing is working, is like I just kind of fiddle with it, and then I normally will morph it into what I want it to be. And as I was doing that, I got Emily's eyes to look good, but they were kind of cold and kind of like calculating. And then I was like thinking about her outfit and how outlandish it's gonna become, and how it's gonna make this big collar and stuff like that. And then I was thinking, how royalty kind of, their outfits are kind of like statement pieces, basically saying like, I'm rich and I'm powerful, and like I'm so rich and powerful I can spend all this money on my clothes, making them like so crazy just to show like my wealth and stuff like that. And it's kind of like, not exactly like intimidating, but sometimes it could be for intimidation. So I kind of wanted to do that, with Emily, just to show like, I am Empress. I am, you don't mess with me. So when I was kind of going down that kind of thought process, I started thinking about how what if Emily was like high chaos and Corvo was low chaos? Because I've mentioned before, I played the game in low chaos. And like, what if Emily wasn't as oblivious as she seems in the game? Because in the game, she seems like she's not really paying too much attention to what's going around. Sure, she's paying attention to your actions, because I know in the game, if you play high chaos, it changes her to be, more violent, more colder in the game. And then if you play low chaos, she's, a happy girl. But what if she's very aware? I mean, obviously she's seen her mother been murdered in front of her, and she's angry about it. But she's just a little girl, and she's got no allies, because originally she gets kidnapped, and she's held in a brothel for freaking forever. And so when you save her, and she like hears about the overseer's dead by then. When she hears about like the spy, the master spy dude, I don't remember his name. And she's like, she wants revenge for her mom, but she can't do it. She's a little girl. But she's got Corvo. And think about it. Corvo completely failed in protecting the Empress. And he's probably feeling mad guilty, really upset about that. And especially with like Emily there, like just like a constant reminder of like, I failed your mom, I failed you. And like Corvo and Emily have such a cute dynamic already. I mean, in the beginning of the game, she wants to play hide and go seek with you. Like, that's a close bond, man. So, I believe that Corvo would do anything for Emily. Just, not just, to help with his guilt, but, he's very loyal to the crown. So if she ever asked him, to do anything, I can imagine, he's normally, very, I'm not going to kill anybody, but if she asked him to, and she was like, Corvo, could you do this for me, please? Could you please kill this guy? I need closure in this way. I think he'd do it. So I kind of went down that route, and in this picture, I kind of wanted the symbolicness to be Corvo's the only one that gets dirty. So his foot is in blood, and I made it particular sure that Emily's dress never touches the blood because she's supposed to be clean and pure, and kind of she's untouchable, and Corvo, if you cross Emily, Corvo's gonna come after you. That was kind of the vibe I was going for. And that's kind of even after the game, even after, when she's trying to become Empress, and, if anybody wanted to challenge her authority, that, Corvo, I could just see Corvo, stepping out from behind the shadows, somebody's arguing with her in, the throne room, and she's not getting her way for whatever reason, and then all Corvo does is gotta step out of the shadows, and they shut way up, and they're oh, no, whatever you want, they become, yes men in, a second. And so I just like that whole idea, especially, after the game, where she has to, maintain her political power. And because listen, Corvo in that game, he's taken down really powerful dudes, and nobody can stop you in the game. So if anybody wanted to cross Emily, if you were a political figure, you would not cross Emily if you knew Corvo was around. So I was kind of going with that. And the other kind of symbolicness of the picture that I was trying to go for is, and I didn't do a very good job of it, was where the red lines are. So I was trying to make them symbolic of how their deaths were. So on the right are all of the Empress's conspirators. And so you've got, the Overseer, the Spy Master, and then the Pendleton brothers. And those are all the people that have betrayed Emily and, her mom. So, with the Overseer, I have, his the branding tool, and I've got his face branded. And then with the Spy Master, I've got the lines going through his neck, because in the low chaos, the way that you defeat him is you release his recordings where he basically stupidly talks about how he brought in the rat plague, and he kind of is his own downfall, his words are what kill him. So I put it through his throat, and then on the other side, on the left hand side, those are all the people that are Corvo's antagonists. There's Havoc, because those are all the people that have betrayed him. Havoc, Pendleton, Martin. And I tried to be symbolic with them, because I've got Pendleton's got the cup, and that was supposed to be in low chaos. Havoc poisons both Martin and Pendleton with, I guess, I don't know what the hell they're drinking, but they're drinking something, and he obviously poisoned them. And then I couldn't think of a symbolic way to do Havoc. I know in high chaos, Havoc falls off a building if you don't shoot him. And so, I mean, I guess if you're stretching it, I do have him off the ground, so kind of falling. It's a real stretch. And then last but not least, there's Dodd. And I put Dodd at the top because he's the real killer of the Empress, and so he gets a little extra treatment, you know what I'm saying? So he's kind of both, and he's the one that, ultimately gives Corvo the bad rap. So he's the infuse of both Emily and Corvo's kind of foe, you know what I'm saying? And if you really want to stretch it, he kind of links the two groups together a little bit. Obviously, he was working with the Spy Master, and he got hired by him. And then he's the first person who finds you after Havoc throws you in the river, you know. Oh, I mean, not Havoc, Samuel throws you in the river. So that's another reason why I kind of put him in the middle. Also, if you're wondering like where Lady Barbara is, because she is a target, she's not in this picture mainly because she's not really either Emily nor Corvo's enemy. And I'll talk about that a little bit later when I'm talking about actually the game. So if you want to know more my thoughts on that, you know, just keep on listening. So that's pretty much it for the picture. I'm going to start talking about Dishonored. So if you don't want to hear any of that, like I said, feel free to mute me. So I bought Dishonored a couple months ago, probably on a Steam sale. I think I was watching a bunch of videos about Dishonored 2 and how like bad it was, like either for a port or like just the bugs that it was coming out, like everyone was just hating on it. And when they talked about it like in YouTube videos and stuff, they showed a bunch of gameplay and I was like, oh snaps, look at that. Like there's so much aesthetically pleasing things in this game. Like I saw like the trailer and like Emily looks super cool in her outfit, and just like the architecture with that whole like Victorian kind of thing going on, it was super detailed, and just like the lighting, and just there was just so much that, I mean, there's Sokolov's paintings, like that dude knows how to paint. So there was just a lot that I liked aesthetically about the game, and I don't try to play the second game in you know, I try to play the games in order. So I got the first game, and I started playing it like months ago, and I played probably about an hour. I played the jail level, and I got out of the jail and I was in the sewers or whatever, and I put down the game for whatever reason. I think I had to do some chores or whatever, and then I for whatever reason I just never came back to it. I do this a lot with a bunch of games that I eventually do play. Like I'm doing that right now with like the last 999 game, which I think is called like Zero Dilemma. Like there's nothing wrong with the game, neither with Dishonored nor the 999 game, but for whatever reason I just don't want to pick it back up. So months go by, and I think during those months I watched a YouTube video that were talking about games where you can be a pacifist, like, you know, like Undertale and things like that. And they talked about Dishonored, and I was like, what? You don't have to murder everybody in that jail? Because in most games, you know, it's expected for you to like murder people or take people out and things like that. And I didn't know it was like, you know, and I know some people that are like really good gamers, they can do like pacifist runs in games, but like, let's be real, I'm a terrible gamer. I'm never going to be able to like outrun guards and stuff like that. And I also want to know the story. So I can't really do a pacifist run. But to know that you can be a pacifist was really interesting to me, and it really got me to pick up the game again. So I pick up the game and I restart because one, I haven't played it in months and I literally can't remember what's going on. And two, I want to be a good guy, because in almost every game, I always want to be a good guy. I'm not one of those players that are like, I want to be evil, I want to be terrible. I'm always trying to be like this goody two shoes. So the Corvo is called the Royal Protector, and I take that to heart. Like I said, I played it clean hands, so I didn't kill anybody. But I also, when I knocked people out, I would like find very comfy spots. Granted, more so because I didn't want them to be found. But then I also thought like, you need a rest, you know? Corvo's here to take care of you, you know? I protect you. And then when I went into people's houses, I never took any of the money out of the houses, because I was like, what kind of guy, you know, who used to work in the palace steals money? So that was also because I really didn't need a lot of money. Like the only money I really needed was to buy sleeping darts. So it wasn't like I was in need of cash. But like I said, I take that to heart, and like anytime I could help somebody, I help them. So I was like cultivating this very good guy persona for Corvo, and it's just so upsetting that nobody really comments on it. And I get it because, you know, the game writers there's probably a tiny percentage of gamers who are playing it like clean hands. So they don't really need to be catering to that audience that much. So every time you go talk to somebody, they're like, oh, Corvo, I don't want to get on your bad side, you know. Oh, Corvo, you're, good job in murdering that dude. And I'm like, I didn't murder anybody. I'm a sweetheart. I'm a cinnamon roll that could kill you. So it was so distressing. But if you think about it though, and like the game likes to mess with me because I'm trying to play super cute guy, fluffy cute Corvo, but the game is so gray in some areas if you want to play low chaos that, the alternatives for not killing somebody are real questionable, super questionable. Like, with Lady Barbara, that's the one I always think of. Which, before I talk about how questionable it is, can we just real quick talk about the plot hole of the fact that nobody gives you an invitation to get into the party in the first place? Like, Pendleton is a nobleman. Why didn't he give you an invitation to the party? What were they all expecting? Like, somebody, like, were they expecting you to rob somebody to get like an invitation? Like, I don't really put it past them, but or just sneaking in. Now that I'm thinking about it, you probably could have just snuck in. Like, what would happen if you did sneak in? Like, now I want to know if that's like a way. Like, is there a way to get through a balcony? Oh, I have to look that up. But yeah, like, it just so happens that that chick loses her, like, drops her invitation. She's like too high and mighty to go pick it up. Which, how the hell did she get into the party? You know what I'm saying? But let's talk about, very tiny details that probably nobody cares about. Anyways, but that whole level, the whole Lady Barbara level, was probably my favorite level. It's like one of the few places where it isn't, like, it's bright and colorful and like the architecture's nice and pretty and there's confetti and there's colors and nice gardening and so it was just nice to not be like in the rat-infested streets, And I loved hearing listening to like all the noble ladies and men, just complain about their 1%, problems, and, hear all the gossip. And I forgot the guy's name, but there's a guy with like a whale mask, which was really strange. And he did not like me at all. And I just kept bothering him. But he actually shows back up later in Dishonored 2. He's like, I don't remember his name, but he's like some jerk that is connected to like the first like kind of antagonist that you deal with in the game, the guy who locks you up in the office. And I was just kind of glad that they brought him back because he was such a jerk at the party, and I just really wanted to I just really wanted to bug him. And I loved, like, the duel that you go into, which, can we talk about that for 1 second? Like, Pendleton, you jerk. Why do you tell a guy before you're gonna set him up on that? Oh, yeah, just give this letter. It's no big deal. It was really stressful for me because, I normally play Dishonored, and I do a lot of quick saves, and I don't do a lot of hard saves. So I was so far in the level, and I saved right after the guy read the note, and I quick saved, and I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna because I thought you had to kill him. I didn't think you could switch your weapon out and shoot him with a dart. It took me a lot of different tries to do that. I thought the only way was to kill him, and I was so upset because I was like, oh god, I'm gonna have to restart this whole freaking level again because Pendleton's a jerk. And but like, here's the thing, why would Pendleton not tell you? Like, let's say you're playing, so the reputation in the game that you have is that, you're a killing machine. So why would he keep that secret from you? in that part of the game, you're kind of like bros with Pendleton, which I don't know why, because he's a jerk and he's snooty, and I don't like him in the first place. But like, it's just common courtesy, you know? Just common courtesy. And also that level was great because I loved the whole idea with the sisters, and you got to figure out which sister is which. But I was so upset. Now I might be playing the game wrong, but I was so upset that you couldn't. It wasn't more of a puzzle. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't more of you had to figure out. Like, you figure out on your own who's who, because the way I found out is there's a girl and she's like, can you get me a drink? And I'm like, I'm a gentleman, of course I can get you a drink. So I got her the drink and she's like, Lady Barbara's in white. And I'm like, oh, come on, man. And I was kind of upset that you couldn't play the game. Now, I don't know if you actually could. Like, here's the thing, I don't know how much of the game I missed, you know what I'm saying? Like, I only know that Dodd had magical powers because I accidentally didn't shoot him with a sleeping dart, and I actually fought him for a short bit, and then I reloaded my game and then I shot him with a sleeping dart. Like, I knew that he talked to the outsider, but I didn't know I had magical powers. So I don't know if I missed a lot of the game because I was playing low chaos, and that's another thing about the game that I like so much more about Dishonored 2, because in Dishonored 2, there's so much more, at least character building. Like, I love that Corvo talks in Dishonored 2. I love that we get to hear him talk about Emily, because I'm playing as Corvo. Talk about Emily, and I remember there's, like, you find a painting of the Empress in, like, some later level in Dishonored 2, and he reminisces about how, like, she loved wearing her hair down. And I was like, oh, it's so cute. And, so I love that you get to learn more about the characters, especially with, like, the autographs and, like, you know, Sokolov's journals and things like that. And I feel like that was sorely lacking in the first game. And I don't know if it's because I didn't find those letters or anything like that. I think there was more world building. And let's be honest, I didn't really care about the Dishonored world that much. It's not a great place to live. I mean, there's rat plague everywhere. I mean, it's kind of gray, dingy. It's not like super pretty. I mean, there are some kind of good looking set pieces, but nothing like Dishonored 2. So it's not like a great place to live, you know what I'm saying? So it's only really in the Lady Barbara episode where you kind of see, like, the more prettier architecture and stuff like that. But anyways, it just seemed like I didn't get to really know a lot about, like, the characters and things like that, and I was really upset that I couldn't play, like, the Lady Barbara game, and I was really looking forward to that. So back to, like, what I was actually trying to get to is the whole thing of the gray. So in that case, you know, the low chaos version is you give Lady Barbara to this guy, and when you first meet him at the party, he's like all like, oh, we're so in love. It sounded like they were like secret lovers, and he kind of wanted to like live in the country, live a more carefree life, and she's kind of addicted to this high society, and he kind of, you know, and she's like, or more like not addicted to high society, but she's trapped by high society. Like, she can't leave, and she wants to live this carefree lifestyle with him, but you know, high society has all these pressures, and she's got all these things that she has to attend to, and they can never be together really. But if it's either that or death, you know, she can finally like live out her life domestically in the country. And they're so in love, and I was like, I was feeling really good. I was like, oh, you know, like, I'm doing a good deed. Like, she's gonna go relax in the country. He's gonna have a good time. There's this really cute love story going on, and it's better. It's a better alternative, because I felt kind of weird the fact that you had to even assassinate Lady Barbara, because out of all the people who are your targets, Lady Barbara is the least offensive. Because, okay, she's not a part of the conspiracy, as far as I know. She's just funding the new spy master's government. And she didn't murder the Empress. She didn't betray you. She's just Miss Moneybags, you know? And so I always felt kind of bad that she would even be on your hit list. She's on Havoc's hit list, and you're just kind of Havoc's goon right now. So I didn't want to, like, do anything to her. So I was feeling really good that you didn't have to kill her, and she was going to live, like, this beautiful domestic life. But then when you take her down on the boat, and you put her in it, because he doesn't talk before you put her on the boat, he's like, he takes a 180 and he becomes this creepy stalker dude, and he's like, finally we can be together, you know, just you and me. And then you kind of like, it dawns on you like, oh, I don't think Lady Barbara's ever talked to this dude, or if she has, she's not giving him the time of day because he's a creep. And so now she's living kind of like what I hope maybe turns into a Stockholm Syndrome lifestyle, because she's now kind of like stuck with him. That she's just kind of trapped being with this dude. Like, I just think of terrible things for this woman, because like all I'm thinking is like kind of like a Stockholm Syndrome thing. Like, I don't want her to fall in love with like a crazy stalker man, but like, what is the better alternative? I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, Lady Barbara's kind of a strong woman. Or at least that's the impression you get, because when you chit-chat with her, she is like, doesn't care about your time, and she's like, I got things to do, what do you want? And so, you know, maybe, and the guy that you kind of leave her with, the creepy guy, he's kind of wishy-washy, kind of weak dude. So, I don't know, she probably would escape. And if he doesn't live in like the complete wilderness, and she doesn't die of like exposure, which, oh my goodness. Now, I like how every scenario I have for this woman now is utterly tragic. But maybe she escapes, and then she finds like a town, and she gets a job, and she learns the valuable lessons of like an honest day's work, and then she becomes like a woman of the people, and maybe becomes mayor, and or brings business to a failing town. And she's like, instead of being the daughter of some rich dude, she becomes like a rich gal on her own merits. Like, she opens like a saloon or something. I don't know. Something happens, and she becomes her own woman. And so now that I like have all these ideas, like, I need to know what happens to Lady Barbara. Give me that Lady Barbara DLC. Like, forget the Dodd DLC. Like, I want like the Lady Barbara DLC. Like, make that happen. Anyways, I'll get off this tangent. Oh wait, I just thought of something. So, in the new Lady Barbara DLC, like, you know, after you become mayor and everything, or maybe sheriff, I don't know, there would have to be a part where crazy stalker man comes back, you know, and then you have to like deal with him. I don't know how you deal with him, how ruthless you gotta be, but that would be like full circle, or even better. So you play the whole DLC, you know, you make money, or enough money to get back to where you were, and this would be completely after all the things happen in the game. So, like, Emily's on the throne and all that jazz, right? So, like, you're not, you know, and especially if you're playing low Chaos Corvo, like, he's not going to kill you. So, like, you're set. You just go back to the town and you live your life in, like, luxury, having parties. And then, you know, you have a great story to tell at your parties about how, you know, the demon, royal protector, you know, tried to get rid of you, but you came back. Oh, that's the way to go. Okay, now I'm definitely done with this tangent. Now I'm going to talk about the Pendleton brothers. Now I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Pendleton brothers are also not part of the assassination of the Empress. I feel like they, like, okay, so the spy master and the overseer, you know, call up Dodd, and they're like, listen, dude, I need you to murder this Empress. And he's like, I'm on it. And like, Dodd steals Emily and kills the Empress, and then he hands Emily off to like the overseer and everybody else. And then the overseer's like, listen, Pendleton brothers, take care of her, blah, blah, blah. Which, now that I'm thinking about it, how the hell did these two morons even get part of this plan? They don't seem smart enough to be, like, even involved with any of this. But whatever. And then they're just kind of like two idiots, hanging out in a brothel, putting, making sure, I guess, Emily doesn't escape. And then you sentence them to a life of a salt mine. And they're totally not equipped for that lifestyle. Not that anyone should be equipped with a salt mine lifestyle, but still. So, I felt really bad about that too. Not to mention, in that same level, you gotta electroshock some dude to get the combination for something. I forgot what it was. Now granted, you don't have to break into that safe, but I wanted to break into that safe. And even though he was kind of like into that kink, still. So the Overseer mission, I'm a little confused about how that even works. Like, why branding him makes him no longer like the head of like the church. You know what I'm saying? Because if like, okay, let's think about it like from the standpoint of the day after, like after you get branded, right? So I work in the order. I'm like some lowly guard dude, and I hear that the Overseer's been branded. Like, I know that Corvo has escaped from prison. Corvo, the Empress killer, who has a reputation for being a badass / murderer, and the fact that he might be coming into the order for whatever reason. The fact that the night before, whether you're playing low chaos or high chaos, there was clearly an intruder. Because if it's low chaos, you probably knock some people out. And if it's high chaos, you murdered some people. So, clearly somebody's come into the order. And the fact that the Overseer has been branded, just maybe you would take the word of your Overseer and be like, hey, Corvo came in and he branded me because he wanted you all to lose faith. Like, how do you feel about that? Like, who's got more stock in public opinion? The Overseer in the order, which, he's like the head leader, or mass murdering Empress killing Corvo? Like, I don't know how the Overseer wasn't just seen as a victim. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I didn't play the game. I didn't read like all the world building, and I know I picked up a book about the whole branding kind of ceremony, and I didn't feel like reading it, so that might be all explained in there. Like, this all can make very good sense if I just read some world building. Like I said, didn't really care about the world building. Now, character building I would have cared about, but So that's pretty much more than enough time to talk about good guy Corvo. I probably should talk about other parts of the game. So I'll talk about the Outsider. So the Outsider is so emo. He's so emo, like with the hair and the eyeliner. And I really didn't care about him because he's so vague. He's so vague and mysterious. That I just didn't care. The only time I did care was when I was first playing the Overseer mission. I didn't have enough runes to do that side mission for the granny lady, where basically you go into that dude's house and you steal, a diseased rat, which, what the hell am I doing touching diseased infected rats? Like, how did I not get the plague? But anyways, I didn't have enough runes because you have to use a rat to get into the pipe to get to that secret room, and I think I used all my runes at that time to get like my blink up. So I played that whole level. Like, I branded the Overseer. I was supposed to go and talk to Samuel, get on the boat, but I was like, oh snaps, I want to do that side mission, which I didn't do because I didn't feel like, diseasing, everybody's water supply. So But anyways, I just wanted to get, just see where it would go. So, so I came all the way back, and I play. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll save the game, and then I'll play it one way where like I did infest the water, and then I'll just see what the outcome was, and then I'll replay it, without doing it. So I did it. So I found out, there's like a rune shrine, and the outsider talks to you, and what he says is, oh, you spared the overseer, he's all about trying to kill me, well, not kill me, trying to, what's the word I'm looking for? He's just against magic, against his beliefs, blah, blah, blah. And you let him live. How interesting, but normally when you run to the outsider, he's super vague. He's like, what will you do, Corvo? What will you do? And it's like, why am I even talking to you? So, and the other thing is that I didn't like about the overseer is like, he's kind of a dick. Because I remember the mission where you have to get Sokolov, and you run to the overseer before like the mission kind of really starts, and he talks about how Sokolov is been trying to figure out magic about the void and trying to meet him, and like he'll never meet him because the overseer the outsider has no interest in talking to Sokolov because he's boring. He's such a boring human being. He's not interesting like you, Corvo. And I'm like, wait a minute. Corvo's more interesting than freaking Sokolov? Like, don't get me wrong. I love Corvo. He's a sweetheart. But let's be real. Sokolov is like the Leonardo da Vinci Renaissance man of that game. He paints, he does inventions, he does does medicine. We find out in the second game that he goes on freaking adventures. Like, how is Sokolov not an interesting character? Like, why wouldn't you want to talk to that dude? He's like, he's angry all the time. Like, come on. Like, and Corvo, all he's got, at least in the first game, is he's pretty silent. In my case, he's a good dude that has the potential to murder people and that has superpowers. And superpowers that the overseer, gosh darn it, the outsider gave him. Like, come on. It's clearly Sokolov is the better, like, more interesting, at least for the outsider. Come on. So, I don't really understand the outsider. I think that's kind of the point. But, so that's all I have to say about the outsider. Also, I might as well talk about Dot. Oh, no, okay, so, in the second game, now I haven't played the extra kind of, like, DLC that's supposed to be, like, Dodd's story, because I didn't really care too much about Dodd in the first game. I kind of felt something because when you're in his office and you read all of his journals, I kind of felt a little bad because he was seriously remorseful about, killing the Empress. And I was like, all right, Dodd, you're kind of like a Batman kind of character. You're that anti-hero. But I didn't like him enough that I wanted to play the game. And now that I'm playing the second game, I will probably go back and play the Dodd stuff because apparently I missed a lot about Delilah, so I might as well go back. But I remember in the second game when the outsider is trying to give you your powers back, because I'm playing as Corvo, that he says something, he like makes a jab at you where he says like, you should have listened to Dodd, Corvo. He could have told you all this stuff about Delilah. And I'm like, now, I know things don't carry over from the first game to the second game, but in my first game, I waited for forever to knock Dodd out because he was I thought he was talking to himself, but he was actually listening to an autograph, where he talks about, he's just reminiscing about everything that's happened to him. And I was like, I was so patient with that dude. And then I eventually put him to sleep. Now, like I said, the game probably thinks that you probably murdered him, whatever. So, But I just was like, come on, man. No props to me. No props. But now that I'm talking about, like, the outsider and powers and stuff, can we just talk about how weird it is in the first game that you're, like, the only person to have powers? Like, I know Dodd has powers. But, like, the setting of that game is so non-powers. The fact that you have powers is weird. I just found it really weird. And you're kind of godlike, which is kind of interesting because you really don't have that many powers. I mean, I don't know, like, the extent that you can go to because I didn't invest in any of the, like, kind of killing powers. I basically just upgraded my blink. I didn't even bother with slow-mo. And I basically didn't use a lot of runes, to be honest. Because I was mainly just making people pass out and shooting them with sleeping darts that I didn't really need them. So I did like the fact that in the second game, you can play it without powers, which I think fits the game more better. Though, and I kind of love the idea that in the second game that you could go totally, like, manual, no superpowers, and then take out some witches. Like, that sounds really appealing. But I know that I'm, like, to play the game that way would take so much longer. Like, it's just so easy just to, like, blink right behind a guy and then knock him out. You know, you don't have to wait for him to come by. Like, especially in the second game, there are some tough spots, man. Like, if I didn't have blink, I don't know what I would do. But I do love the fact that in the second game, if you don't take powers in your journal, you're kind of like, yeah, stuck it to the outsider. He thinks he can control me. And I love that because, like I said, I really don't like the outsider. And I kind of love the idea that if you had no powers and you went to, like, a rune shrine, like, what would the outsider say to you? Would he be like, what the hell are you doing here? You didn't take my powers. Like, just to mess with him. So I'll talk about some things that I thought were weird about Dishonored. Like, I already talked about having powers in, like, a very real kind of world where there are no powers, except for you and Dodd. And I'm kind of glad that they, like, elaborated that a little bit more in Dishonored 2, but it just felt weird in Dishonored 1. Anyways, but I always felt like the pacing was a little weird in Dishonored 1. Like, the whole scene, especially at the end, where you save Emily and she comes out of the door. This is if you're in low chaos. And you get Emily and she's like, Corvo! And, like, she literally, like, runs into your arms. And then you directly go into the end monologue. And I was just like, wow, that was real abrupt. Like, I was thinking there was going to be more of a bonding moment. And there was none. And it wasn't, like, more like, you know, you carry her down the stairs or anything like that. Like, none of that. And here's another thing. I kind of wanted to see, like, how does that go? Okay, so you've put Havoc to sleep. You've put, you know, Pendleton and Martin have been murdered. They've been poisoned. And you go down the stairs with, like, Emily. Clearly everyone thinks you're the Empress murdering person. And you're holding Emily. Like, that can't play out well. Like, you've got no allies by the time that part of the game. Like, your only allies are Sokolov and the other guy. I forgot his name. Piero or whatever the heck his name is. And the, like, how does that play? Like, how does that work out? Oh, hi guys. I'm Emily. By the way, all that stuff about me, not true. Like, how do you sneak her? You must sneak her out. And why don't you ever sneak her out? Like, I know there's a little bit of time where you kind of sneak her out of the brothel, but, like, a goddess to honest, like, you put her, she sits on your back and, like, you sneak her out. Like, that would have been cute. So I don't know how that plans out though. Like, where do you take her without somebody being like anybody in higher power than you being like, listen, he's using her. Like, did you just see it? He took out Havoc. Now we have no structure. I just don't know how that translates well. I mean, I guess since there's nobody around, you have to listen to the Empress. But, like, how often does that happen? Like, you think about, like, any royalty they're not going to listen to a kid. There's always somebody pulling the strings behind. I don't know. It just seems really far-fetched. And maybe that's why they ended the game there. They were like, listen, we can't, there's nothing we can do. Like, there's no good end game. So that's like a huge plot hole, I feel, that there's in the game. But just thinking about the pacing is just a slightly weird. I do think, like, when I originally first finished the game, I was like, wow, this game is so short. But now that I'm thinking about it now, it really isn't. Like, I just played the game fairly fast, I feel. The last thing I want to talk about is the fact that I'm a lazy gamer. And so when I finished the game, I started watching some YouTube videos about, just to want to see what people thought about Dishonored. And in the course, everyone was like talking about like, oh, how obvious was it that Corvo's sleeping with the Empress and, you know, Emily's his daughter. And I was like, what? And I was totally shocked. And I was like, there's a scene where Emily draws you, and then under it says like daddy. And I was just, that was such a great moment, because I was like, oh, snaps. She sees me as her daddy. It's so cute. And I just thought it was because of like the fact that she didn't have a father, and, you know, her mom's gone, and like I was kind of, you know, we played hide and go seek in the beginning of the game. Like we had like this bond, and like I'm like a father figure to her, but, you know, I'm still just a bodyguard. And I was so into this like dynamic, because I just love the now idea, which I thought was canon, that Corvo was like this super loyal bodyguard, and him and Emily had forged this like super cute bond where they with just their feelings and their situation, that they made this kind of familial bond, but it's actually not backed up by blood. And I don't know, it kind of takes away from that idea a little bit, you know, to know that they're actually blood related. And not that I'm too upset, because, you know, Corvo is like now kind of like a single dad, and I freaking love single dads. I love them. Like, that's kind of my kink. But, so I'm not too upset. But, I mean, loyalty is my favorite attribute for a character. I mean, one of my favorite characters of all time, Sam Gamgee. I'm sure everyone's seen the Lord of the Rings movie, but in the movies, what happens is like there's a part in the third movie, spoilers, where Frodo and Sam get in a fight, and like Frodo's like, "Go home, Sam." It's a very Disney moment, and Sam's like, "Okay," and then later on, Frodo gets in trouble, and Sam, you know, comes back, and he's like, "I'm here to save you." Well, guess what, people? That doesn't happen in the books, because Tolkien knows what's good. And in the books, Sam never leaves, because he's the best. And almost all my favorite characters are super loyal, which is kind of why I have a problem with characters who cheat. Like, okay, your character could murder like 20 people, could be a mass murderer, but if they're super loyal to like their spouse or like their companion or their friend, I'm like, that's a good dude, that's a good Chiquita. But if it's like, okay, the character could be perfect in every way, you know, gets good grades, is responsible with money, you know, is a decent father, but you know what, if they cheat on their wife or whatever, I'm like, oh, douchebag. So it's so off-putting to me for a character to be disloyal. So and it doesn't have to be just in like a cheating sense, it could be disloyal in any way. So anyways, got a little off topic there, but now that I kind of talked about mainly the points that I wanted to, Dishonored, the game, the first one, I don't know. So I really liked Corvo. I really liked the fact that you could play it as a pacifist. I think Emily's adorable. But would I say it's a great game? I don't know. Because, like, okay, the setting isn't like a fun, happy place. So, you know, rat-infested, plague-infested, you know, Dunwald, you know, I don't want to live there. You know, and all the color schemes are kind of dingy and gray and green, and kind of ugly. And I get it. That's the tone that they're setting. Like, I understand that. And so I don't want to actually go there. And like I said, didn't really care about the world building. But, Dishonored's a decent game. I'd probably give it at least a 3, maybe a 4. 3 out of 5, 3.5 out of 5. Because like I said, I just didn't feel too connected with the characters. I mean, I felt connected with Corvo and Emily, of course, and then I also liked the girl who worked in the inn, like the maid lady and the red hair girl that like you kind of bond with a little bit, and then of course Samuel. But when it came to, I guess you're not supposed to kind of connect with the bad guys, but there was these like 2 NPCs that I got really attached to, and it was like really, I totally ran with this idea in my head, and it had nothing to do with them. But basically what happens is after you defeat Dodd, you kind of come out of the sewer where you come into the part of town where they dump all the dead bodies that have plague. And, a lot of times in the game, if, you walk somewhere, you'll trigger conversations that characters will have, and they'll tell you a little bit about the story. Well, I must have done that, and I didn't realize that I did it. So, I must have walked back or whatever, so I didn't get to see the beginnings of this conversation. But at the top of this hill, there were these 2 guys, and one was like an aristocrat, and one is like a working guy. And the working guy is much sicker than the aristocrat. And the aristocrat guy is trying to pull him up the hill so he can like rest at the top of the hill. And the working guy's like, he's like, I'm not that bad, I'm not that sick. And then the aristocrat guy is like comforting him, and he's like, that's right, you're not that bad. It's you're gonna make it. And then the working guy's like, yeah, I'm gonna make it, but I'm like really tired, so I'm gonna like take a nap. And then like the noble guy's like, yeah, take a nap. And then he goes to sleep, and pretty much he's dead. The working guy's dead, and then only the noble guy's there. And when I missed all of this, the whole thing where he pulls him out and says he's going to be all right. The only part that I got to is when I went back up to the hill, and it triggered the noble guy saying like, he's like, oh, you don't look like you're around from here. He talks a little bit about the bodies coming down from the train, how they're dead, and how some people like him get dumped down here even though they're not dead. And then he talks about how he just kind of he wanted to die in his home, and it's like this really sad moment because he says it in like this kind of quiet, defeated voice. He's like I just wanted to die in my home, and it was so sad. And the way that he's holding this working guy is he's got like his arms around his neck, and it's kind of a lover's embrace. So only hearing that, I got in of course, in my BL mind, I like made up this story that these 2 guys were lovers, or and they like lived together, and there was like, it's like this whole secret love affair, because it's definitely a classism thing, working guy, aristocrat, come on, forbidden love. And they both get like the plague or whatever, and one's dying faster than the other, and he has to die in his arms, and it was so sad. And it was so like enamored with this made up story that I kind of came up with, that I took a screenshot of these dudes, and I was gonna draw them because I was like so into it. And then I reloaded the game, and then I finally got to see the whole conversation, and I'm like, oh, so they're not lovers, they just met here. But you know what, I don't live in canon, so I'm gonna make that a thing. OTP for Dishonored. I know that Dodd and Corvo are a big pairing, but let's be real, these guys, these 2 NPCs, they're the true pairing. So anyways, so I just thought about this. So how the whole game is about rat plague, and it's clearly been influenced by Black Plague. The whole thing with the rats, and the fact that like people have the kind of like a little bit of like the sores and everything like that. So I'm not that well versed in European history, and I'm not exactly sure how we defeated the Black Plague, but I'm pretty sure it's because of like hygiene got better and like sewer systems and things like that. In the game, the Rat Plague is kind of defeated because Sokolov and Piero. I know I'm saying that dude's name wrong. Also, I'm dying to know who Piero was peeping on in the game, because I'm a gentleman, okay? I don't peep through the door, and so like I never found out who Piero was like crushing on, or I don't know if it was a crush. Maybe he's just a perv. I don't know. So that was such a weird part of the game for me, because before then, and kind of after that, I mean, he's a perv, whatever. I liked Piero, you know, and it was such like a hard thing for me to be like, because I didn't want to be like tough on the guy because I liked him, but at the same time, I was like, dude, I'd really appreciate it if you gave like people some privacy. So I had to bring down like the law. Anyways, that was totally sidetracked. Back to what I was saying. In the game, Sokolov and Piero like make an elixir, and I assume people get cured that way. But I love the idea that like, so Emily was held in a brothel, and I don't know how clean this brothel was, but it was pretty high end. So I like to think that like the ladies that, you know, work there, they kept pretty clean, you know, they want to smell nice, things like that. So none of them got the plague because they're constantly like washing their clothes, you know, keeping their hygiene up. And like Emily saw this, and so she kind of like thought, maybe not to completely, like, I'm not saying she solved how to beat the plague, but she wanted to implement those practices that she saw in the brothel to also, with the elixir's help, to like combat in it. And if I'm thinking about it, in the second game, in Dishonored 2, every time I go in a bathroom, there's bath salts, which I am at. It's either Dunwall and Karnaka are, you know, all about them drugs, or that's a different name for, you know, soap. And so if everyone's got soap in their bathroom, and like I feel like there's kind of like this hygiene renaissance thing going on in Dishonored 2, so maybe that's a whole thing. And though now that I'm thinking about it, isn't Dunwall the only one with the rat plague? Because like Karnaka has like blood flies. I don't know, I guess it doesn't work out that well, but it's just a theory or a thought that I had that I would think would be kind of cute. But overall, there's not much more that I want to talk about Dishonored. I had a good time, and I'm definitely having a great time talking about Dishonored 2, but I haven't finished the game, so I really can't get into too many details about that. Maybe I'll draw a picture, and then I'll make another video where I talk over it and just talk about that game. Let me know if you do like me talk about just talking over the videos. It does kind of feel a little weird that I have all these silent videos on my page, but most of the time I'm like, what would I talk about? So I might do more in the future if you like them, or if I just feel like doing them. And I apologize because halfway when I was making this video, I lost some of my recordings, so I had to redo them. And I realized I say like a lot. Like, I'm practically a valley girl. So I apologize for that. I don't even know I'm doing it. So I would like to say I'll work on it, but I probably can't / won't. So anyways, I hope that you have a wonderful day, night. Hope you're having a good time. And thanks for getting this far. Alright, talk to you later maybe. Bye-bye.